And we'll bring you to West Africa, Nigeria, where the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has suspended, the collation of results for the Anambra State governorship election. Now, INEC's chief returning officer for the election, Professor Florence Obi, announced this early this morning at the commission's head office in Awka. Professor Obi said that the commission has collated results from 20 out of the 21 local government areas and will declare the winner of the election after the supplementary election to be conducted in the remaining local government of Ihala has been done.
Well, the supplementary election would be conducted in the 326 polling units across Ihiala tomorrow, which is Tuesday, November the 9th. Meanwhile, though, out of the 20 local government results that INEC have announced, Charles Soludo of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, the Awka, has won 18, while PDP and YPP have won just one each.
Joining us this morning is Public Affairs Analyst and Director, Lead Network Africa, Chukwuma Okenwa. We also have Nwoba, Chika Nwoba. He is National Publicity Secretary for PDP in Ebonyi State. Welcome to the program, gentlemen. To start off, Chukwuma, what is your general observation of the entire exercise on Saturday, and what lessons can we learn from the way the elections was conducted?
Well, I would say that the outcome is quite impressive, contrary to the anticipations of a possible complicit on the part of the security. We saw a great deal of professionalism, just ensuring the safety of the voters. And the initial fears of an unusual voter apathy was also proven otherwise, as we saw people en masse to turn out in no smaller measure than the extent of the voter apathy that existed in Anambra State. So it was no different from every other elections without as much as violence as we witnessed this period. And one of the things also that further authenticated is the fact that the 7 states that do elections at different dates, different from the other 29 that join the general elections, they tend to have more advantage because all of the focus of the nation is on them at that particular point. And what that means is when all eyes are there, it's almost difficult, to compromise the election. So I would say that it largely represents the interest of the people of Anambra State.
All right, so let's bring on Nwoba Chika Nwoba, who's the National Publicity Secretary for PDP in Ebonyi State. Now, Nwoba Chika, you were on ground on that day as an observer. What would you say about the distribution of the materials and the reported failure of the bimodal verification device to accredit voters?
Okay, thank you for having me. I think the inconclusive Anambra election, in quote, is one of the few transparent elections that we have conducted in this country. I was on ground, just as you said. I visited about 7 polling units here in Awka, and the report was that the machine that was to accredit voters, was slow. We didn't get any news that it wasn't working. What they told us was that the machine was slow in capturing and accrediting voters. So there was actually a problem with the machine, but as time went on, it began to flow as expected. So the machine actually delayed the process because earlier it was slated that voting should end by 2:30 p.m. But around that 2:30 p.m., voting was like starting. And in some of the polling booths, like Umudioka, where I visited, I think there were around about 500 to 600 voters queuing up to vote. So
right.
I think the machine...
Now, a lot of people came out to say that people did try to turn up for the voting exercise. But Nwoba, not only were you on ground, you were also on patrol with the Commissioner of Police in Anambra State during the exercise. And going by the number of people who came out to vote, would you say that IPOB's initial threats to boycott the polls affected turnout or not?
No, it didn't. It didn't affect it because, you know, the same IPOB came back to tell us that they have canceled the initial threats, that everybody should come out and vote. So, and people turned out to vote more than even some of us expected they could do. You see, so the threat didn't affect it. You know, it might affect some few areas, but for Awka South, Njikoka, and other local government areas that we visited, the turnout was intimidating. I didn't foresee it. I never knew the turnout was going to be like that. So it didn't affect it in any way, and there was no violence. There wasn't violence. You know, many people thought that the election was going to be bloody, and that the deployment of security operatives, you know, was going to scare people away. But not. That didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. So the exercise went well, save for some delay occasioned by the sluggish performance of the machine that was to accredit voters.
All right, gentlemen, the exercise has been declared inconclusive as a result of the no election Ihiala local government area. Now, some people see it as perhaps maybe a plot to obtain the numbers in favor, perhaps on a particular candidate. But what are your thoughts on this? Chukwuma, Okenwa, you go first on this.
Well, of course, that cannot happen. We know that you need up to 2/3 of the local government in a state to be declared a winner. And at the moment, we just have one particular party, and that's Abga, having 17 out of concluded local governments. And some other parties like YPP and PDP won. APC is yet to get even just one local government, and that's quite shocking. So whatever might be the insinuations, I don't think it's going to play out because one local government will not make a winner.
Do you share the same sentiment, Nwoba? Do you share the same sentiment as Chukwuma? Okay,
I'm with him. I was inside the hall yesterday, the INEC hall. I was inside there. So it was only Orumba, not local governments, that had some issues. You know, the returning officer insinuated that he was coerced into entering some figures, and not local government area was entered. So it is now remaining Ihiala local government, which, you know, will be done tomorrow, Tuesday. So anybody that is telling you that there was a manipulation, I think the person is not fair. You know, the election, in my own judgment, I never expected it, you know, to become that transparent. It is too transparent to a fault.
Now, you see, this election is seen as a litmus test, as some put it, for INEC ahead of the general election come 2023. Gentlemen, would you say that INEC is ready for 2023? I want to start with you, Nwoba.
Say so. I wouldn't say so because what obtains in the southeast may not be what we obtain in the south, in the north central, and in the northeast. So I can't boldly tell you that INEC is fully ready for the election because Anambra governorship election went well. No. Some of these areas, you know, they have their geographical issues. They have their, you know, voters there have different orientations. So I wouldn't say that, because Anambra election has gone so nicely that it is going to reflect in every other election in this country. But
now, Okenwa, do you share the same sentiment as Nwoba?
Yeah, honestly, because Anambra is just one of the 36 states. And despite the fact that the election to a great extent was digitalized, there were also some issues resulting to delays and all of it. And the interesting thing is, Nigeria is not well policed as a nation. You know that a lot of deployments has to be done from across the country to put all the necessary security on ground, the surveillance, and then you have the favors of, all the organized and international election observers coming together as one. Now, when the election is happening across the whole country, where do we have all of that capacity to create the surveillance, the security, the manpower, the architecture that is needed to deliver election as free, fair, and credible, like the one we saw in Anambra State? So I think the indictment is going to be on capacity. And one of the things, if I was speaking with a friend yesterday, I was proposing, I say it looked like, judging from Edo elections, Anambra elections, that were just done at different dates, and every eye was on those states. It does appear maybe doing elections, governorship election for different dates across the country, perhaps could account for more credible elections, being that the whole focus, both the media, would be on that particular state.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, once again. Returning to the program, Chukwuma Okenwa, always a regular with us, Public Affairs Analyst and Director, Lead Network Africa, and to you, Chika Nwoba, Chika Nwoba, an observer at this election and also Publicity Secretary for the PDP in Ebonyi State. Thank you once again, gentlemen, for your time this morning on Breakfast Central.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.